Markets this morning, meanwhile, are mixed. Take a look. The Dow Industrial is expected to open lower after Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin said that he would not extend most of the emergency lending programs that run in tandem with the Federal Reserve. The Treasury Department's move would end most of the Fed's emergency lending facilities, as well as two highly scrutinized programs, the Main Street Lending Program and the Municipal Liquidity Facility. Joining me right now is Kyriba senior strategist Wolfgang Koester. Also joining the conversation all morning long this morning, Fox Business's Dagan McDowell and the Wall Street Journal's assistant editorial page editor, James Freeman. Great to see everybody this morning. Thanks so much for being here. Wolfgang, let me kick it off with you. Your reaction to what we heard from Stephen Mnuchin yesterday and these programs that would give the Federal Reserve stimulus leverage to add even more stimulus. He's not going to extend those beyond the end of this year.
Yes, good morning, Maria and everybody, Dagan. When we look at it at Kyriba, we look at what does it mean for liquidity for corporations, because at the end of the day, the investors are going to look at what are we going to do with this. And cutting that liquidity off is likely going to be an event that is going to be negative for the market. But what we are also watching within that liquidity is what is going on with the dollar here. And what we are anticipating is that that could possibly weaken the dollar, but more importantly, it's going to create volatility. So once again, we're getting news. We don't know whether that's going to happen. If they're actually going to shut this down to the point, less liquidity for people can't be great for the economy.
So if the dollar weakens, does that change your investing allocation? Do you want to invest differently with a weaker dollar?
So what we look for is less of whether it's going to be strong or going to be a weak dollar. We look for what's the volatility and what companies really understand how to manage through these very volatile times. We're actually looking for much more volatility within the market coming and what companies do it well. So you have companies like an Anheuser-Busch who are not doing it well. They're losing large amounts of money on this thing. So do Apple not doing it well. On the other hand, you have an Amazon who's doing it extremely well. So if you're looking at even the large companies, you can see a dichotomy of people who are doing it very well, managing that currency and their liquidity better than others. And you got to look for the companies who manage that well, and we help them do it.
So how does the backdrop feel to you? You've got positive news on the vaccine front. Pfizer and Moderna expected to apply for emergency FDA usage for their COVID-19 vaccines as early as today. I'll be speaking with Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar coming up about the development when he joins me at 8 a.m. this morning. But you also have an economy that seems to be slowing down. Retail sales this week coming in lower than expected. We're seeing a bit of a pullback from some of the higher numbers we saw just a few months ago. What's your expectation of the economy going into year end?
So I expect that we're going to have volatility. We're going to have some good news, such as hopefully Pfizer, and we're going to have some not so good news if we're cutting systems down. So at the end of the day, you really got to look for values in these things and for companies that know how to manage through these times. Who's done well through the times of this volatile time for pretty much all of 2020, and who is not doing so well, and look at the financials, look at what they're doing, and quite frankly, we're asking the CEOs and CFOs to seriously take a look at how well are they equipped to continue to manage their liquidity, which isn't just related to the dollar. It's a lot about supply chain financing. It's about the lifeline of the company being liquidity. How are you managing it?
Do you want to buy, when you say value, do you want to stay away from tech? Where is the value, Wolfgang?
Well, actually, I kind of like the techs personally, because at the end of the day, what I think the market is understanding more and more, especially the recurring revenue model. So where you actually have companies who walk into the year on the beginning with knowing that they're going to have 97% of their revenues already by year end. So I don't think that the tech is over with. I think people are understanding what software as a services companies and the as a services companies are doing. And I think it's important to look at those. So I wouldn't count the techs out yet at all. But again, I would look at from all sectors, not just the tech sector. I would look at what companies know how to manage through these areas from a financial perspective.
And with the Treasury declining to extend these programs that are tied to the Federal Reserve stimulus, are you expecting a sell-off in stocks as a result of this toward year-end? How would you see the year-end market performance?
I would think it's going to be mixed at the end of the day. We're going to get some bad news like that wouldn't be particularly good, and then we're going to get some really good news. I think that anything that resolves the coronavirus is going to be more positive than cutting systems out. So if you actually have a vaccine ready to go, and that's true, that certainly would go way beyond. We're not going to have to use packages to do so.
All right, Wolfgang,
I think
great
that one
to
of
see
the
you
other
this morning. Thanks very much. So go ahead, Wolfgang. Make your final point. Yep.
So my final point is I think that one of the other things to really look at what we're doing with China and what's going to happen on the China front. So one of the interesting parts is that we're looking for electronic currencies to actually be issued. We thought that was going to be issued on Singles Day by China. It did not. It gives the United States, under the new whatever the administration is going to be, an opportunity to actually catch up and have an electronic dollar, and that could create the dominance, which then would actually create a strong dollar and a further strong stock market.
Yeah, it's a very good point. A digital dollar is what you're talking about. We'll see if that materializes in the United States. A lot of conversation about that, Wolfgang. We'll keep looking at that. Thank you, sir. Wolfgang Koester joining us there.
My pleasure.